Hello, this is a Neisseria Bacteriology tutorial presented by the SchrDbb. We reference Lippincott Illustrated Review of Microbiology by Cynthia Cornilesson, Bruce Fisher, and Richard Harvey. So here we're going to visualize Neisseria. So to start with, we're going to visualize the classification of Neisseria. Now we need to know that what generally the free living bacteria, as we have seen in the introduction, we have free living bacteria. So we have already dealt with the gram-positive bacteria. Now you can see the gram-negative bacteria still inside the free living bacteria. So inside the gram-negative bacteria, you have the cocci, you have the rods, the enteric rods, and you have the non-enteric rods, which are not going to be seen here. So we are just going to see the cocci. Now among the cocci, we have the Neisseria. Is it clear? Now Neisseria is a gram-negative cocci. So example of Neisseria, we have Neisseria Gonorrhea, we have Neisseria Meningitis. Now another gram-negative cocci, we have Moraxella. Example is Moraxella cataratis. And the last gram-negative cocci is Actinobacter. Example is Actinobacter here. So this is the classification. So in this diagram you can visualize the presence of Neisseria gonorrhea in polymorphonuclear leukocytes, is it clear, in urethral discharge. So Neisseria gonorrhea can be visualized in polymorphonuclear leukocytes in urethral discharge, in urethral discharge sample. Now we need to know that there are certain pathogenic ability that these rods have. Is it clear? Example, Neisseria gonorrhea. Neisseria gonorrhea has pili, and these pili are hair-like appendages that are going to be used in transferring one substrate to another. The second is lipo-oligosaccharides. Gonococcal lipo-oligosaccharides have shorter and more highly branched non-repeat or antigenic side chains. So these lipopolysaccharides help the Neisseria gonorrhea to prevent the bactericidal action of antibodies. Is it clear? The next virulence factors are the porins proteins. Is that meaning that what this Neisseria gonorrhea have porins proteins that are going to cause pores at the level of the different cells they are invading. Is it clear? The next are the opacity proteins. The opacity proteins, which are formerly called the pill proteins, which were formerly called the pill proteins, are so named because of the tendency to be opaque in quality. Is it clear? And the gonococcal capacity to express 11 different OPA proteins. Is it clear? So these are the different pathogenic factors which are helping the Neisseria gonorrhea to invade the different cells of the body. Now these are the antigenic variation now of Gonococcus. Now in the antigenic variation of Gonococcus, we have already seen in the introduction how the genes of the bacteria are being expressed. Now we need to know that generally inside the Gonococcus you are going to have silent genes, you have promoter genes, and you have expression locus. So the gonococcal peeling gene of different antigenic types are seen here. Don't forget that as we have seen, there were the different pili, and the pili have different genes with different expressions at the level of the gonococci. Is it clear? Now in case of type A gene, so because there is type A, B, and C, in case of type A gene is copied and inserted into expression locus to the promoter, leading to the production of peeling protein type A. Is it clear? So based on the expression locus here, if the expression locus is a type A expression locus, the promoter gene is going to cause the production of the type A gene. It's going to cause the transcription of the type A gene. Now, if there is the expression locus type B, there is going to be the promoter gene is going to result to the transcription of the peeling gene type B. Is it clear? So those are the different antigenic variation of the Gonococcus. Now this is an example of a urethral discharge seen in gonorrhea, but different diseases, sexually transmitted disease, can cause gonococcal discharge. Now you need to know that there is what is called ophthalmia neonatorum, resulting to pussy-like discharge inside the eye of the neonate. Is it clear? So those pocillized discharge of the eyes of the neonates can be generally due to gonococcus. If it is immediately after postpartum, it is usually due to a gonococcal infection. Is it clear? Like Neisseria, gonorrhea, or it can be due to chlamydia infection like chlamydia trachomatis. Is it clear? But if it is let's say 3 to 5 days after the child has been given birth, it is due to a streptococcal infection or staphylococcal infection. So you have inflammation and edema appear 2 to 5 days after birth. So it's immediately after birth or 2 to 5 days after birth. But if it is after the period of 5 days, then it is more of streptococcal infection. These symptoms are more severe than those observed with chlamydia infection. Now, the next one is incidence of gonorrhea in United States. Now, you need to know that gonorrhea incidence has highly reduced as compared to the past. Is it clear? So these are the different age group of the incidence of gonorrhea. Between 10 to 14 years is very low, but in men, you see that in men is going to be lower compared to women, because in women they are more subclinical, meaning that they are asymptomatic as compared to men. So it's between this more the age prevalence is more in the active sexual age, because at this age is going to be high transmission sexually transmitted infection. So at 20 you see that there are more cases of males, there are more cases of males and more cases of females at this age here. And you see that the age group where the males become more sexually active is between 20 to 45 years, while the age group where the females are very sexually active is between 16 to even 20 years. So that's why they are very high with the similar age here. Is it clear? So this is the incidence of gonorrhea in the United States. Now the next one is mixed growth on plain chocolate agar. Is it clear? So here you see culture of cervical sample on the plain chocolate agar allow the growth of contaminating organism. He said this is culture on the tire chocolate agar medium containing vancomycin, colecine, which is only going to be selective code for Neisseria. So this diagram is just telling you that what if you just leave chocolate agar, if you just leave chocolate agar so if you just put a sample of a cervical sample on chocolate agar, you are going to realize that there are going to be contaminating organisms that are going to grow on that chocolate agar. Example, you have streptococci, you have staphylococci, you have lactobacillus, because all of them are being are present inside the vaginal mucosa. Is it clear? They are present as normal flora in the vaginal mucosa. So if you just take that sample and place in the chocolate agar, since chocolate agar is a very good milieu for all these microorganisms, all of them are going to grow on it. But now, in case where you place them on a tire Martin chocolate agar, and a tire Martin chocolate agar is one that contains vancomycin, colecine, tryptophan, trimethoprim, and nystatin. So when you place all these antibiotics plus a chocolate agar, is going to produce a tire Martin agar, and that tire Martin agar is selected for the growth of Neisseria, gonorrhea. Is it clear? So the next one is going to be Neisseria meningitis. Neisseria meningitis now is going to be present at the level of the cerebrospinal fluid, and it is present as a gram-negative diplococci. Is it clear? So they have the epidemiologic classification, and we have antigenic classification of the Neisseria meningitis. Epidemiologic classification is that you need to know that there are greater than 13 serogroups of Neisseria meningitis, and it's greater than 20 serotypes of Neisseria meningitis. While antigenic determinants, we have the two main antigenic determinants of the Neisseria meningitis are going to be polysaccharide capsule and the outer membrane protein. So those are the two main antigenic determinants. The virulence factors are polysaccharide capsules and the outer membrane proteins. Now for the serogroups, as I've said, the polysaccharide capsules are the one that are going to account for the different serogroups. Is it clear? Now for the serotypes, is the outer membrane proteins are the one that are going to account for the different serotypes. For the serogroups, we have the serogroup A, B, C, W, and even Y. Is it clear? So that's why the vaccines which are produced against these microorganisms. So you have the ACYW vaccine, or you have the ACW and Y vaccines. So these are the different vaccines that are going to be produced. Is it clear? So these are the different vaccines that are going to be produced based on the serogroups, and that serogroup depends on the polysaccharide capsules. Now the serotype depends on the outer membrane proteins, and there are even up to 20 serotypes. The serotype 1, serotype 2, serotype 3, serotype 4, which account for the antigenic property of the Neisseria meningitis. So this is the incidence of pneumococcal vaccine according to age. You see that meningococcal infection is going to be more in the age group of 1 to 9 years. Is it clear? 1 to 9 months, sorry. Now between 1 year and 19 years, Neisseria meningitis reduces. So here the meningitis is going to be more due to Streptococcus pneumoniae and also due to Haemophilus influenzae. But here in the younger age group, between 3 months and 1 year, you have more of Neisseria meningitis being the cause. So you must always add the antibiotic that is going to be against Neisseria meningitis for this microorganism, and that antibiotics are usually penicillins. Is it clear? Example, ampicillin. Now the next one, you can see petechial and or pulpy rash on the neck extension. So this is another form of meningococcal meningitis. So meningococcal meningitis is usually associated with rashes. You can see rashes on the skin of the child, and those rashes are called Henoch-Schönlein purpura. Henoch-Schönlein purpura is a form of vasculitis which is produced as a result of an autoimmune disorder, because the Neisseria meningitis antigens resemble that of the cells of the body. So you're going to produce a vasculitis that is going to produce purpura, which is seen here. And a purpura is just a skin rash which is going to be between 1 to 2 centimeters. So it's bleeding underneath the skin, which is between 1 to 2 centimeters. That's a purpura, a purpuric rash. So if you have a child having a purpuric rash and a neck extension, neck stiffness, just think of Neisseria meningitis being the cause of the meningitis. So now the next thing here is Neisseria meningitis produces acid from oxidation of glucose and maltose, but not from sucrose. So this is how to test for Neisseria meningitis. So to test for Neisseria meningitis, you can use 3 test tubes, one with glucose, one with maltose, and one with sucrose. Is it clear? So in case of Neisseria meningitis, you can see you see that Neisseria meningitis is going to produce acid from the oxidation of glucose and maltose. Is it clear? So acid are going to be produced when this and this are going to be oxidized, but sucrose cannot be oxidized to produce acid. Is it clear? So that is why the acid, the pH indicator, that is the phenol red, is going to turn from red to yellow when you are going to use in these 2 cases. So you place phenol red in both of them. When phenol red is placed in glucose containing a sample with Neisseria meningitis, is going to turn yellow because there's acid production with glucose. When phenol red is going to be placed with maltose, it's going to still turn yellow. Is it clear? If there is Neisseria meningitis, but it's not going to turn yellow with sucrose. Phenol red is going to remain red in case of sucrose. Is it clear? Why? Because Neisseria meningitis do not produce acid from sucrose. Now in case of gonorrhea, you need to know that glucose acids are going to be produced in Neisseria gonorrhea. Is it clear? But not in case of maltose and sucrose. For glucose, Neisseria gonorrhea is going to produce an acid. Maltose, no acid is going to be produced. That's why phenol red still remain red. And for sucrose, phenol red still remain red because no acid is going to be produced. So now let's visualize the difference between Neisseria gonorrhea and meningitis based on different characteristics. On glucose utilization, both of them use glucose to produce acid. We said that Neisseria gonorrhea are fermenting microorganisms, so that's why they produce acids during their usage of glucose. So they are more anaerobic microorganisms. Now, maltose utilization is only Neisseria meningitis. You can just take the word M for Neisseria meningitis. M for meningitis. So it's going to use also maltose, but gonorrhea, Neisseria gonorrhea does not use. Now the plasmids are common for Neisseria gonorrhea, so there is more resistant to antibiotics with Neisseria gonorrhea as for, and is rare with Neisseria meningitis. Now the vaccine available, there is no vaccine available for Neisseria gonorrhea, but the vaccine available for Neisseria meningitis, we have the A, C, Y, and W serogroups. Is it clear? Now the polysaccharide capsules, the Neisseria gonorrhea have no polysaccharide capsules, while for the Neisseria meningitis there is polysaccharide capsule present, and this one is going to show the antigenic factor. There were other antigenic factors produced by Neisseria gonorrhea. Is it clear? Now the beta-lactamase production, Neisseria gonorrhea commonly produce beta-lactam. Is it clear? So penicillins may not be used very effectively with Neisseria gonorrhea, but penicillins are effectively used for Neisseria meningitis. Example, ampicillin can be used to treat it. But for Neisseria gonorrhea, you may use other things, like in case of ceftriaxone, so drugs which are beta-lactamase resistant. Is it clear? Like ceftriaxone or any other cephalosporin. Now oxidase, the Neisseria gonorrhea contain oxidase. Neisseria meningitis also contain oxidase. Now these are the serogroup classification, the comment on each serogroup classification of Neisseria meningitis. So serogroup A is usually responsible for massive epidemics. So if you have a serogroup A, which is due to the polysaccharide capsules, that serogroup A is usually involved with massive epidemics in developing countries. Serogroup A does not elicit any effective immune response. Is it clear? So that's why B is not used as a vaccine. So we don't use serogroup B for any vaccine. You do not see any vaccine, as you can see here. You don't see any B on the vaccine available because it does not elicit any immune response. Serogroup B and C are responsible for the most endemic meningitis in the United States. So for endemic effect, is going to be mostly due to B and C, and A, C, Y, and W is effective for the capsular vaccine is available. So for the capsular vaccine available is that. Now let's see the general characteristic of Neisseria species. So we said the Neisseria species, you see Neisseria gonorrhea is going to exist in clump within polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Is it clear? Neisseria gonorrhea exists in clump within polymorphonuclear leukocyte in urethral surface. So when you see on microscope, you are going to see that clumps inside polymorphonuclear leukocyte. Now for Neisseria meningitis, you are going to see them free in the cytoplasm like diplococci. You are going to see gram-negative diplococci free in the cytoplasm. So let's see the different characteristics again for Neisseria species. It is kidney bean shaped diplococci. So Neisseria is mostly diplococci, kidney bean, or just say diplococci, but they are gram-negative. The pillar is important for attachment to the mucosa, and it is a very antigenic factor, a very great virulence factor for Neisseria gonorrhea. There is oxidase, it is oxidase positive. It is aerobic, is it clear? So that's why, because it contains oxidase, that's why you make it to be aerobic. It is non-motile and it is pyogenic. Pyogenic means that it produces pus. That's why you have seen in the initial image up there. So that's why you see in the initial image up there that there was pus at the level of the urethral discharge. So the next thing is Neisseria gonorrhea. Let's see the specific characteristics of Neisseria gonorrhea. Neisseria gonorrhea infection of the human epithelial cells. So as you can see here, this is on a electron microscopy. A bacterial microcolony can be visualized here. Is it clear? So you can see a cobweb-like appearance on the electron microscopy. Cobweb-like appearance. Is it clear? So in Neisseria gonorrhea, the specific is that maltose is not utilized for energy and sucrose too. So it can grow on the diamartin medium that we have already spoken about, and then there is no polysaccharide capsule in this case. So now, what are the antibiotics used if you have uncomplicated gonorrhea and if you have ophthalmia neonatorum? In case of ophthalmia neonatorum, meaning whether there is pus-like discharge in the eyes of a neonate, which is due to a Neisseria gonorrhea, you can use first line of ceftriaxone, or you use erythromycin, or you use silver nitrate. In this case, you use ceftriaxone. Why? More than a penicillin, because the Neisseria gonorrhea produce beta-lactamases, and ceftriaxone, though they are beta-lactams, they are more beta-lactamase resistant than the other penicillins. Is it clear? So you can also use silver nitrate in ophthalmia non-atorum, but silver nitrate has other side effects, so that's why it's not usually used again. So you have uncomplicated, for the case of uncomplicated gonorrhea, you can use ceftriaxone or you can use doxycycline in combination. For uncomplicated gonorrhea, use ceftriaxone and doxycycline. The reason why you use doxycycline is because of a chlamydia, because usually if you have a sexually transmitted infection of gonorrhea, chlamydia is usually associated. That's why you add this tetracycline or imacrolide with a third generation cephalosporin when you are treating gonorrhea. Now for Neisseria meningitis, so the characteristic is that it is going to be utilizing maltose just like glucose. It's going to grow on chocolate agar. Is going to, and that is a particular, is going to grow on chocolate agar. The next is going to be most common cause of meningitis in person between age of 2 to 18 years. It contains polysaccharide capsule, and the vaccine is going to be against the serogroup of A, C, Y, and W135. Now, as you can see here, if you see a patient having meningitis and then purpuric rashes, these rashes are going to be called Henoch-Schönlein purpuric rashes. Is it clear? So, if you see this patient having purpuric rashes and then meningitis, you think of Neisseria meningitis. The next is meningitis plus meningosemia and Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. Is it clear? So these are the diseases that are going to be due to meningitis. It can be which can be due to Neisseria meningitis. Neisseria meningitis can cause meningitis, can cause meningosemia resulting to Henoch-Schönlein purpura, and can also cause Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. What is Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome? Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome is just hemorrhage is a hemorrhage of the adrenal gland. Is it clear? So Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome is going to be just hemorrhage of adrenal gland resulting to an adrenal insufficiency, which is due to Neisseria meningitis. So the drugs that you use in these diseases, the first line drug is penicillins. So Neisseria meningitis do not produce beta-lactamases. So since they don't produce beta-lactamases, penicillins G can easily be used. So then the second line, you can use a cephalosporin, which can be second generation cephalosporin in case of cefotaxime, and then you can also use a third generation cephalosporin, ceftriaxone. So I'm sorry, cefotaxime here is a third generation cephalosporin, just like ceftriaxone. The first generation cephalosporin is cefazolin, second generation cephalosporin is cefuroxime, third generation cephalosporin is cefotaxime, ceftriaxone, and ceftazidime, and the fourth generation cephalosporin is cefepime. So those are the drugs. So from here we have seen all the tutorial involving the gram-negative rods, and then we say thanks for your kind attention. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for our channel, Science Video Makers. Thank you.